Hello and welcome to Hey, I Loved That Movie, the podcast where we rewatch the films we loved when we were younger to see if they still hold up. I'm Dan.
I'm Michael.
I'm Poppy.
And I'm Luke.
And for today's episode, we watched Scooby-Doo.
So, Scooby-Doo came out in 2002, very much a product of that time.
It is how dare you? It is.
Well, you can tell because it
Timeless.
opens with like a light hip-hop adaptation of the Scooby-Doo theme song.
Yeah, like just generally the soundtrack in this is off the charts, but we'll go into that a bit later.
Yeah, they didn't rely too heavily on the soundtrack, but when they did, it slapped.
There's
Yeah.
a lot of very like this is a band from the early aughts kind of vibes going on in the soundtrack. It's
Yeah,
pretty-
I'm very surprised that the band that was playing when they first arrived on the island wasn't Smash Mouth, honestly.
It was Sugar Ray because Sugar Ray were actually in the film. I'm pretty sure they were on the plane as like one of the group of the people on the plane with them.
Oh,
I
possibly.
didn't clock that, but that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I don't know. They look like a band from the 2000s, and most people on that plane look like they could be in a band from the 2000s.
Except for Scooby
Right.
dressed as a woman, who, like, all I could think of is, you know that scene in, is it the third Jurassic Park movie, where the Velociraptor's like, Alan.
Yes.
Yes.
We should probably go through the story of. 'Cause
Yeah.
if anyone hasn't seen Scooby-Doo, number one, go and see it. Number two, the story is a masterpiece, if
Oh,
anything.
absolutely.
So it starts with, of course, Old Man Smithers, the creepy janitor, being behind the
The
ghost.
Lunar Ghost.
The Lunar Ghost, yeah.
I want to
Ooh.
point
Yeah.
out in the skateboarding scene, Shaggy skates regular footed. That means that his left foot is forwards, and he does a pretty good hippie jump over an object and then up to do a frontside 5-0 grind on the quarter pipe. This was done by Tim Dorfus McDougal, who died in 2017 and got the gig by the actual regular booked stuntman whose name I couldn't remember, couldn't actually skate the quarter pipe that was built for that stunt. And so because they were filming it in Australia, they just got like a mate in to do it who could like do a frontside 5-0. So yeah.
Wow. R.I.P. Tim.
That opening scene is weird, though.
So, yeah, the Lunar Ghost.
Mhm.
Do they ever explain why he glows?
Radiation. No, I don't know.
No, I'm not too sure. Like, I think a strong point of this movie is that it knows that you know the Scooby-Doo cartoon. Like, all of the episodes that you'd seen before, they just use it as their backstory. They don't have to explain who these people are. They don't have to, go into all their past. They're just like, here's these people. Here's Pamela Anderson. Now they're splitting up. Oh no.
We don't
Yeah,
have to
love the
wait
Pam
for
Anderson cameo.
I
Yeah.
forgot Bella Anderson was in
We
it.
don't have to wait for Shaggy's Uncle Ben to tell him that with great power comes great responsibility. We don't
That is
need to
true.
see Fred's aunt die. None of this needs to happen. We just, like, everyone knows the very detailed Scooby-Doo backstory and is down with it and ready to go.
So
I-
his parents get shot in the alleyway
Yeah,
by Joe
that's
Chill.
what it turns to stopping crime.
Exactly.
That's
It
what
turns
you have.
out the twist the whole time is it was Scrappy Doo.
Scooby was dead the whole time.
Choice quote from that opening sequence is, "Teamwork, I do a tremendous amount of teamwork."
Yeah.
From Fred.
Fred is amazing in this film.
Oh, for
I
sure.
think the casting overall was just fantastic. I think they made the characters recognizable as the people they were trying to be. Like, they kept to the cartoon. You could tell it was those characters. But the little sprinkles of characterization they gave them, like Fred being so full of himself,
Yeah.
was just amazing. Sarah Michelle Gellar as Daphne, they were like, we basically got Buffy. That's how
Exactly.
Daphne the Vampire Slayer.
yeah.
And then Velma's voice, incredible.
Oh, yes.
Like the voice was down, and I mean Matthew Lillard.
Lillard?
Matthew Lillard, yeah. In this house, we stand.
As-
Matthew Lillard.
Uh,
Shaggy is incredible, just incredible, and Scooby Doo, the animator that made Scooby Doo.
Like, even though he was overly cartoony, he looked like he belonged there. The
Like-
amount he interacts with the environment and that was just great.
There's a point I really wanted to make about that style of 3D animation, because a lot of these we've gone on about 3D animation doesn't hold up and a lot of 2D animation does, and I think it's because all of those old 3D animations, they tried to make it look too real. This Scooby-Doo,
Yeah.
and like all the
Kind of
anima-
hits the uncanny valley a bit.
Yeah, but all of the animation in this, it looks just cartoony enough that it lasts because it was never meant to look realistic, and I
It was
love.
the kind of the issue they had with the Sonic the Hedgehog movie when that first came out. We were like, oh god, what is that? And then they made him look more cartoony. It's fine.
It's great, and it will hold
Why
up
did he have
longer.
human teeth? Imagine if
It had human
Scooby-Doo
teeth.
had human teeth. Oh my god, no.
And like tiny human eyes.
Not in his mouth, just he has human teeth.
Oh.
we
Brown
don't,
Like a
sugar
jar.
necklace.
we don't know that he doesn't.
I think one of the reasons why Scooby seems to fit the environment is because they didn't just like keep Scooby as cartoony, but like the color grading of the film, the like way it's shot is like cartoony in itself. There's a lot of that present in this movie. Like the skateboarding sequence again, the running on oil and including the like Hanna-Barbera sound effects just keeps it like this is a cartoon, it's just live action.
I like how they very much kept to one solid color for each character that represented them. That was very fun.
So,
So,
the plot.
I mean, I want to start with a part of the plot, which is just the spoiler for the end, which is that...
Can we explain the film?
Yeah, of course. Okay. I just wanted to say about how great Rowan Atkinson was, and when you know the
Incredible.
twist, it's even better.
Oh, he's just an absolute gem. Honestly, he made me laugh out loud several times.
Yeah.
The main plot of the film is, they break up and then they're invited to this spooky island and things go down. There are monsters that are not fake, they're real, which is, I want to talk about that. And then big adventure, they're trying to work out what's going on, and someone needs Scooby's soul. No, they need everyone's soul. They need loads of people's souls, and they need Scooby's soul because he's pure to transform themselves into a stronger power and make it so the monsters can live during the day because currently the daylight kills them.
What was the theme of Spooky Island? Because you had
Spooky.
skeletons, like tribal dancers. There was one guy who was like a luchador.
That character was my favorite character for some reason. There was a wrestler. They also had a load of different mascots. Like I think at one point there was a flamingo, and I was watching it. I couldn't quite work out why you'd want to go to Spooky Island.
They imply it's meant to be like a theme park, but there's
no rides.
There's one ride, and it's closed off because they're using it as a brainwashing facility.
Yeah, what's the point of going? Because it has all of these teenagers in it, and I can't work out why they're there. It doesn't look fun. It's not a great island.
Specifically, the brainwashing facility was for the monsters once they had inhabited the teenagers to learn to act like normal teenagers, which beautiful, like this is how young people speak language.
I would like words with whoever made that instructional video, because that is how I view young people speaking to me.
Yeah, like imagine if you're an ancient monster who's lived on this island forever, and you have to teach people how to talk like a teenager, and your only reference of teenager is just before they go to college. You're not going to get a good frame of reference of how to be a human. So how would you guys make that then? How would you guys make, you have a group of monsters, how would you teach them how to be human?
Plug them into Twitter.
Don't do that.
It's not that it makes them more human, it's that it makes everyone else less human, and so they'll get closer.
I mean, why do they have to appear human? Is it for purposes of infiltration? In that case, why would you use teenagers?
I think they're the easiest to get onto the island, because how are you going to convince like an OAP to come to this spooky theme park island?
I've got very very cheap meals.
Cheap meals served at 3 in the afternoon.
Yeah,
it's an all-inclusive trip to Spooky Island. They're like, oh, I'll get a little buffet and then we'll go and see the tribal dancers. Oh,
God.
That one's a bit spooky, isn't it?
It'd be the same, but with more slurs.
So I want to go back a bit and talk about when the gang splits up.
Saddest moment of the film.
Yeah, like Velma quits first, and honestly, good for her. They weren't respecting her. And it cuts quite abruptly to 2 years later, where we get a shot of the Mystery Machine with smoke coming out of it, and Past the Dutchie is playing.
Yeah, what we do best, immediately weed reference, talk about Toasted. Welcome to the first segment of the Weed Zone.
There was lots of implied drug use in this movie. It was fantastic.
Isn't that the point of Shaggy?
Specifically weed.
Heavily imply the use of weed.
Pastor Dutchie was such a choice there. It's one that like the adults are going to get. Yeah, very, very good to go back and get blasted with that. In the meantime, in those 2 years, Velma has been designing missile defense systems.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for NASA. What is she doing with the Scooby Gang? Honestly. Precisely.
Point. I never
Yeah,
thought about that. Why is she with the Scooby Gang?
Yeah, but also classic like amoral nerd shit of immediately going towards, I've got these tech powers and so I'll use them for the military. It's like,
So-
Velma, come on.
So, like, the gang are tricked into reuniting at the airport, and Scooby comes in dressed as a grandma. No prosthetics or anything. He's clearly just a dog in a grandma suit, and no one clocks it, which makes so much sense when you consider that the director of this movie, Raja Gosnell, also did Big Mama's House.
It's the same costume.
Yes.
It is.
Oh my god! But I want to, before we go to that, I just want to go back. Daphne learnt martial arts.
Hell yeah, in 2 years.
Yeah, like she must have been doing something pretty impressive, like maybe fighting vampires or something. Who
Yeah.
knows?
Fred wrote. I'm going to assume Ghost had a book Ghost written for him.
I assume he did because he's reading it on the plane.
Yeah,
which was a great touch.
Right.
So-
Quick question: which ghost wrote it?
The
Turns
No,
out the
no, the
ghost,
ghost-
right? It was just a janitor.
ghosts. Yeah, ghosts aren't real, except when they are, which they are a lot in this film.
It was the 10,000 volt ghost.
Yeah.
Great
So
writer.
on the plane to Spooky Island, we're introduced to Mary Jane, Shaggy's
favourite
love
name.
interest. And he got, that is like my favorite name.
Once again, welcome back to the second ever
Yeah.
segment of the Weed Zone.
The weed zone is just whenever Shaggy's on screen.
Basically.
This was the reference that I caught as a kid, specifically Mary Jane. That's my favorite name.
Yeah. And then Mary Jane, played by the wonderful Isla Fisher, she immediately says she loves eating dog treats.
Yes, which to anyone else is a massive red flag.
It's weird that there was a movie that did almost this exact scene verbatim. You ever seen Showgirls? There's a
Mhm.
scene in Showgirls where they bond over both eating dog food when they were children, and I'm just mentioning it because like it's only I've only seen 2 movies like that, but it's weird that it happened more than once.
I mean, it makes sense in one where one of the characters is a big talking dog dressed as a grandma, but I'm guessing that doesn't happen in Showgirls.
Oh, you'd be surprised.
Turns out Scooby Snacks are vegan, so that's good.
I used to pretend that mini cheddars were Scooby snacks when I was little.
It's also important that I'm just remembering this. She has them in like a clear plastic bag, which you can get boxes. Shaggy and Scooby eat boxes of them.
Yeah, but
Why?
like,
I mean-
what is their Scooby snack policy on the plane? You know,
True,
You
they're
can't
very
bring that
strict
many
about
Scooby
it.
snacks.
This is a post 9/11
This was
movie. You should probably
2002.
have to bring them on in a clear.
Yeah.
bag.
They had to abide by that on a private plane.
Who knows what you could do with an entire box?
That's also a good point. So they were on a private plane full of teenagers who are going to Spooky Island. So is Spooky Island just inviting very specific people? Because they're on like Spooky Airways, I think it was called, or something like that.
Well, you'd think that it wouldn't cost that much because the end game is to like suck out their souls and everything. They probably like, oh, we'll cut the price so that they'll come over.
But they're on a private jet.
I sort of assumed it'd be, I guess, like how Jurassic Park would work, where you get to a certain area and then there is just like a plane or a boat or something. Because they arrive on a boat, right? They're on a plane to
I
somewhere, and
think
then I
so.
think they then get a boat to Spooky
There's
Island.
definitely a dock. Yeah, I think they
Yeah.
do get a boat over.
I'm remembering the plane taking off and them arriving in a boat.
Yeah,
Mm.
that's what happens. That is exactly what happens.
And it's just hit me that there is no, if there is a connection there, I can't remember it.
I
Should-
don't remember them switching from plane to boat either.
All of the students leaving, by the way, that are behaving totally different are because they're occupied by the monsters.
Yeah.
So as a general, like, completely unresolved thread, there are lots of monster-possessed students just in the world now.
Oh, I assumed that, spoilers for a 19-year-old movie, but when the souls get knocked over at the end, that they all sort of go to everyone.
Yeah. But that
Although,
means, like,
what if they're from different time zones and the monster
Um,
pops out at night and doesn't die?
Well, that's the plot for
Exactly.
Scooby-Doo 3, Ragnarok.
Scooby-Doo 3, Tokyo Drift.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So, like, the next plot point in the movie is everyone ending up at the haunted castle. Daphne gets there by just stumbling upon a guy who's just seasoning a chicken on the beach, and it's never explained. He's like, "Yeah, I do voodoo."
No,
But
he's
why are you
sacrificing-
here, my friend?
He's sacrificing the chicken, isn't he?
But the
It's like-
chicken's not alive.
Yeah, the chicken's dead. It's like, no, fucking no shit.
Yeah. Which he is my favorite character. Is the interaction of like, but the chicken said it's like, well, yeah.
And real quickly, I want to talk about Daphne's choice to wear go-go boots to a hot beach resort.
Yes.
You know she had sweaty calves, and you know that she couldn't walk on sand because they had heels.
And she powered through it.
She sacrifices it all for fashion. I can respect that.
It's all that martial arts training she did.
Talcum powder on those legs.
The whole movie, she does a lot of running. I do like that about Daphne. I think that's my favorite thing about her. And I think she might be my favorite character. Just that she's very like hyper feminine, but not the damsel.
But she
Yeah.
never does it by sort of sacrificing her femininity, which a lot of movies do. She's still like very glamorous, very into her clothes and her hair and everything until the end. But also, she learned how to protect herself now. It's very cool to see, especially from a movie that came out in 2002.
Yeah, which the costuming isn't great for the female characters, but
I mean-
yeah, no, I really like that Daphne was never like not feminine, but still kick ass.
I mean, apparently when they were filming it, they were going for a more adult kind of movie, and they had to use CGI to fill in some of the cleavage when
Wait,
it was more of a kids' film.
Interesting.
Have we got a small soldiers?
Yeah, we've got a small soldier situation.
we've
Like, this
got a
was,
small
yeah,
soldier going
it was
on.
confirmed by, I think James Gunn spoke about it on Twitter, because he's the guy that wrote the movie.
Yeah, he wrote the screenplay for 1 and 2.
Yep. And yeah, he was saying that it was originally going to be a more sort of adult orientated take on Scooby-Doo, and then yeah, kind of like what happened with Small Soldiers. They
That
were
does
like,
come through in some
Yeah.
parts of it.
It explains the weed zone.
I think that would have been there anyway.
Jokes definitely for the adults watching it with the kids in those kind of movies.
Yeah. Now I want to see the Gremlins cut of Scooby Doo. I want to see the adult cut. I want to see the cut before all the changes.
Release
The
the
cleavage
cleavage cut. So my big question is, why did they keep the secret brainwashing stuff in an unlocked castle that looks like a ride?
The only spare room they had.
I
The rest,
guess,
of it,
yeah.
the rest of it was taken up by teenagers.
Yeah, I mean, the original Johnny English, when they find him at the end, I think he did actually own, it was a theme park.
Yeah.
And Scrappy had just sort of taken it over.
A terrible theme park.
Yeah, I actually forgot about the scene where Fred's talking and it shows the little backstory bit with Scrappy. I had actually forgotten about that bit and
That is-
thought it's just at the end, it's like, surprise, it's Scrappy.
Now that is Velma chatting with a randomer at the bar.
Yeah, the
after
guy-
he was
oh.
researching the artifact out in the open,
Yep.
and just randomly launches off into Scrappy Doo's backstory, which
Mhm.
felt like the sloppiest bit of writing for me in this film.
I mean,
I-
first of all, giving Velma a male love interest in both movies, just lesbian erasure.
But also, the love interest in the first one didn't do anything. But I think that scene of her talking about Scrappy Doo's backstory, I think that was definitely added after the film was finished. Probably like the test screenings were like, what happened at the end? And they were probably told, hey, can you put something in?
Yeah, which is weird because, like, I say a lot of the early parts of the film relies on the fact that you know Scooby-Doo. People going into this aren't exactly going in blind, having never seen anything to do with Scooby-Doo before.
Yeah, but in the cartoons, does Scrappy Doo hate Scooby?
No,
I
it's
don't
more that
remember
people
that.
hated Scrappy.
I think-
Well, I say that people hated Scrappy. Adults hated Scrappy more than children. I think a lot of children actually quite liked Scrappy and were kind of distraught by the ending.
Another hint at the earlier adult origins of this movie. During the Scrappy backstory, "Oh God, he's peeing on me," she
Yep.
says about Scrappy. Gasp! Ooh.
Yeah.
He's the filthiest character. Like, he very almost gets to say son of a bitch at the end.
If any character in a cartoon has ever should be allowed to say son of a bitch, it's Scrappy Doo.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
The only cartoon character I can imagine, kids cartoon character I can imagine swearing a lot, like too much.
Can we talk about that one throwaway line where Scooby says that Shaggy drinks out of the toilet? What the
please,
fuck was that?
Do you think he likes it still or sparkling?
Shaggy likes to drink-
Sparkling?
Yeah, when you flush it.
Was it an insult? I can't remember when it was said, but was it said as an insult or just in casual? Yeah, he
Well,
does that.
Shaggy said, "Shut up, Scooby, you drink out the toilet or something," and Scooby retorts it with, "Well, so do you." And I was like, huh,
Fucking beautiful.
that's
This-
interesting to unpack.
Yeah.
So, it being a movie from the 2000s, there is, of course, a gratuitous fart scene.
Yeah, obviously.
I did laugh because farts are funny.
Yeah.
Exactly. It holds up.
Yeah,
it was just great.
there's childhood of farts are funny. There's young adulthood of pretending that farts aren't funny, and then there's actually being an adult and being like, yeah, farts are funny.
Yeah, the stages of grief, but
That's the end.
Stages of 3 stages of fart joke.
Mhm.
Yeah, so the monsters in this movie, they don't look good.
No.
The CGI is bad on them, but they still activate my fight or flight because of I hate their long, gangly limbs. They just do something to me.
Their eyes are cute though.
Their eyes are dog
Their
eyes.
eyes are kind of cute.
Did those so those monsters like originated on the island then? There was just an island full of monsters that
I don't know that they ever go that deep into it.
no.
No, I think they do. They do say that there were monsters on the island first, and then some guy turned up and built a theme park on it.
It's all connected to that. The Damon Writers looks like the Millennium Puzzle from Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yeah. I think that allows them to exist during the day so they can go around the world and not be hindered and take over the world.
Yeah, that
I
sounds
just
about right.
remembered that they confirmed that Scrappy's not a puppy.
Yes, he just has a hormonal problem.
So he's an adult pissing on
Yeah.
Daphne.
Yes, but he's also a
He
dog.
knew what he was doing.
Yes.
Why does I know this is a question as old as time, as old as Scooby-Doo. Why is Scrappy allowed to talk like a full human and Scooby talks like that?
That makes me question, are they actually just dogs? Because Scooby has a pure soul.
Mm.
I know they say, oh, it doesn't need to be human, but surely most dogs have a pure soul.
Because I think the only other dog on the island is Scrappy, and Scrappy, as we all know, isn't pure.
And just say, oh, hey, bring your dogs.
He's also the revenge on Scooby.
Yeah, that's true.
I was going to say, just turn it, instead of a holiday island for students, have it be like a holiday island for dog people.
It's a big dog park.
Giant scary dog park.
It's a Spooky Island for dogs.
Come and walk
Just-
your dog along the haunted beach, the haunted forest, the haunted field.
Jump scare sounds, but really, really high pitched.
Oh, that would mean that the video that's played at the castle where they train them to be humans will be them training the monsters how to be dogs.
Oh no, that's some kink shit. So, one of the suspects, when they're done reviewing all of their clues, is the guy who was leading the sort of dancing festival because he believes the park is built on sacred ground. But, like, does he? I assume that was kind of a shtick.
No, because the monsters are real, right?
Yeah, but I assumed he was kind of playing it up because Velma, when she sees him perform, is like, these are projectors because she can't have fun.
She was like, yeah, no, she kind of.
Yeah.
Absolute nerd.
But she
And-
wouldn't. I guess you can't have the monsters dancing about during that festival, or else they'll go, "Oh, look, the monsters, they're real." Unless it's like a brilliant chess move where they know that Velma would see them and be like, "Oh, these monsters aren't real; it's all fake," and get lulled into a false sense of security. But I don't think Scrappy Doo's that clever.
It's weird because Mr. Tribe's People Are Scary and Telemundo's Spider-Man really do seem to be in on this game, and I can't work out why.
Getting paid.
Telemundo's Spider-Man especially. What's his deal?
So yeah, he's the enforcer
Yeah.
because he's not one of the monsters, is he? He's just a dude.
Yeah, because it's only the teenagers and Mary Jane gets taken over by one of the monsters at one point. And actually, yeah, so does Fred, Velma, and Daphne. They get taken over by the monsters for a brief period of
Yeah.
time, and then you get that amazing scene where their souls go back into the wrong bodies.
I can't work out if they were before or after Futurama on that ship.
I think accidentally being put in the wrong body after your soul has been taken from you is a really old trope.
I will say one of the bits that didn't age particularly well was Fred being put into Daphne's body and then choosing to look down her shirt and talking about how he can look at her naked now.
Yeah, that was weird.
Yeah.
So the bit where the monsters show up in
Yeah.
the hotel,
Yes.
Scooby escapes by like defenestrating himself and his friends, and they all camp out on the beach, waiting for help to arrive, which is not gonna. And they wake up in the morning and all the windows are fixed. They
Yeah.
never explain how.
Monsters. They have a cleanup crew,
I guess
much like in
they have a
Cats and Dogs.
glazier.
They have double glazes. They have their interior design team and painter and decorators come in.
Have you not seen DIY SOS with Nick Knowles?
A weird episode of DIY SOS.
Or
Hey.
Extreme Makeover Home Edition?
We're here on Spooky Island today we are cleaning up after the monsters.
Right, now they're going to wake up on the beach in about 2 hours' time, and we've still got about 3 hours worth of work to get done.
Oh no!
Let's crack on with it, guys. If we get some more monsters in on this paint job.
They start to wake up and they just crack them over their head so the stay close there a bit longer.
Full Home Alone style, just smash them in the face with a paint can. They were actually out for a week.
Yeah, we don't know how long they were out for. They might have been asleep for a few days.
So Spooky Island has a real problem with security on the bad guy end. Because not only did they leave the bowl of souls unguarded, the whole brainwashing room.
Yeah.
Like, I know they had a guy looking at monitors and stuff, but they just post a guy outside.
Damon Wright had a cage that closed up when you took it off, but they could just leave the cage closed and only unlock it when they need it.
Yeah.
Just thinking about the soul bowl. When it's tipped over and all the souls go back to where they were, there are quite high chances that the souls went into the wrong body.
The explanation is that Fred couldn't find his own body, got lost, panicked, and went for Daphne.
Okay, but these are teenagers.
Especially if they're the teenagers that have already left the island. And God knows how far away now.
Yeah,
Like,
how are they meant to find where their bodies are? Because these people aren't going back to their normal lives. The monsters don't know how these people lived.
So there's a bit where Shaggy picks the souls of his friends out of the soul bowl and he lets them go so they can return to their bodies. He picks a random guy out and the guy's like, "Oh, thank you for saving me. It's been so long. And Shaggy puts him back in.
Yeah, what else are you going to do?
Just let him go.
just tip the whole bowl over in the first place. Although I guess they don't
Yeah.
know what they need them for at that point. And if they didn't tip the bowl over, you wouldn't have got the buff Scrappy scene.
The floating faces in the bowl do not look good.
No. So the bit where Fred and Velma are hiding amongst the cult before they begin the big ritual definitely looked like some sort of TikTok dance.
Yeah, I mean, Fred just kind of goes off, doesn't he?
Fred can't dance.
It's good characterization for Fred's to be completely unable to dance and really confident about it.
Yeah.
Fred sort of incredulously claiming that they forgot to do the electric slide is great. And then Velma backs him up.
Yeah.
What a good friend.
What else? Do you reckon if she stood there and pointed at him, they would have let her go? And while all that is happening, Daphne is upstairs fighting the wrestler. And very luckily, there just happens to, for some reason, be 4 posts of elastic around the hole that needs to be opened.
So she can do a proper wrestling move off of
Yeah.
it.
Once again, just like cartoon shit there, right? Like,
Yeah.
to fully accept that in the world, like, the zany shit happened. Having it be wrestling, though, was, like, I do love that.
Yeah, and her just doing like a ridiculous amount of spins before kicking him and stuff like that. Just going all out on the ridiculous. But it was great.
no,
Like,
Sarah Michelle Gellar can just do that.
Oh no, exactly. She trained how to do it for Buffy.
That was live action. She can just do that.
What would happen if you just ate a soul?
Do you think it'd
take
kick?
over your body?
Yeah, would it
you out?
kick your current soul out, or?
You get slightly bigger, but one of your arms.
Yeah, I suppose that is what happens to Scrappy, isn't it? He just sort of absorbs all the souls and then becomes massive. And so when they manage to use the machine thing to basically uncork him and get all the souls back out, and he's just becoming tiny again. And is it just his head that's left massive at the end, and it just looks so weird?
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about Scrappy as the villain, honestly. I feel like his justification for trying to rip out the souls of his friends, his former friends, and a lot of innocent people was just kind of petty.
Yes.
I think it kind of, I don't know, it plays into most of what Scooby-Doo was normally about, though. Like, all of the villains were always just like, oh, I just wanted, a bit of cash.
No, the real villain, the person behind the mask of the monster in every Scooby-Doo thing is just a guy, but always the monster behind the guy is always capitalism, right? Like every time the driving force of the person who is the person behind the mask of the monster is always that they're trying to make money.
A lot of the villains in Scooby-Doo, I feel like the most some of them would get charged with is maybe light trespassing.
And
A
like
lot of them never actually do anything.
public
Harassment.
nuisance.
Yeah.
Harassment, yeah. Well, no, it's not even
Breaking and entering.
trespassing because most of the time it's the janitor who
That's
isn't
true.
trespassing. If anything, the one person who's meant to be there at after hours.
Also, where did they get the climbing harnesses from?
They just have them with them, I imagine.
They're all harness trained as well, which like good because otherwise there's some serious safety violations going on there.
Yes,
Well, I
but-
mean, Shaggy apparently isn't very
No.
harness trained.
I imagine he was trained, but he was baked when he did the seminar.
the harnesses are color coded, aren't they?
Hmm
They're color matching.
It's a cartoon.
I know.
It is like it's a cartoon. It's just shot with people.
But I like the idea of them when they bought those harnesses for whatever reason. They were adamant of having their own colors.
It just fits the characters so well, though.
But if you knew a person like that wore one color and everything they bought was that shade of that color, I'd be a bit worried for them.
I read an article about someone like that, and they did seem a bit nutso.
They are a kind of guy. They even have a name for that. Like it's not monochromat though, because that's someone who
That's a
has like
kind of color blindness.
yeah, it's really specific kind of rare kind of color blindness, right?
Yeah, that's when you only see in black and white, really.
Mhm.
Well, one color.
Do dogs supposedly only see in black and white? Do you think Scooby can only see in black and white?
Yeah, he doesn't know they're color coded. One thing they did get wrong about the costumes in Scooby-Doo is Fred's costume. In the film, he's wearing like it's a jumper shirt trousers thing. In the TV shows, the blue bit is a jumpsuit that goes all the way down. And I think they're cowards for not doing that.
Yeah, his ascot didn't seem to stand out quite as much either.
Allegedly, Freddie Prinze Jr. hated wearing the ascot, so I think maybe they toned it down a little. I know in the second one, he doesn't wear it very often at all.
It's one of those things where Scooby-Doo's been running for so long that you get the similar thing with The Simpsons, where Homer was a teenager in the 90s and an adult in the 80s.
Yeah.
Because The Simpsons has been running for so long and is utterly timeless. You get a similar thing of like these people were the gang were solving mysteries in 1970. It's 2004 and they're still like 25.
Yeah, exactly.
Can we talk about the masks in the Scooby-Doo film? And I think Scooby-Doo in general, the masks are terrifying because
Yes.
even the monsters, when they have like the fake people on, the real people, when like Mary Jane and they're
when she gets hit by the tree.
yeah, when they're on the ATVs and she gets hit by the tree and her face just dislodges, horrifying. That terrified me when I first saw it when I was a kid, and it's still creepy. I hate it.
It's
I
a
hate
bit
the-
weird because she gets the like green eyes coming out as well.
Yeah, out of place
Mouth
face.
is weird.
That's horrible.
Right.
She pulls it back like it's rubber, but then that's like actual human skin.
Yeah,
That's not a
she
mask.
goes back into her human body, then she's like, why have I got a headache?
Yeah, like that's not a mask that monster just put back. That's human skin. She doesn't have a skull anymore because it only took her soul, not her like bones and muscle. Did it take her bones and muscle? Are these
Gives you
people
monster bones.
are these people going back into their bodies and just crumbling?
Just like if you get far enough away from the island, you arrive back in your body and just wet sound as you like collapse onto the floor.
It's
You now a
enough.
brain in a pile of skin. Good luck.
That's horrifying. She's gonna go back to her body and be like, "Huh, my skin around my jaw's feeling a bit loose. Wonder why that is."
How do we feel about the obligatory Daphne and Fred kiss?
Yeah, not earned. Not
No.
even a little. Like no tension there. Nothing hinted at. No real interactions. It's just like yeah,
No.
it's a Hollywood movie. We need a kiss at the end so that we can have a music cue happen.
Yeah.
They're a real married couple, and we're at that time
Hmm
as well. And it's like, where I feel no spark.
I want the Fred and Daphne post the gang breaking up divorce arc where they've like just finished like all of the separation proceedings and then they run into each other at the airport.
Daphne's taking the kids.
Fuck yes.
So overall, do we think it held up though?
Yeah, I think it's great. I think there were like one or two bits that didn't, but on the whole,
Yeah, like,
absolutely.
I think it held up surprisingly well.
it's
Yeah.
powerfully 2002.
Yeah, if you can deal with it being 2002, and if you can listen to some weird pop punk from Sugar Ray, which is a band that didn't really do much in the UK.
I'll listen to some weird pop punk without having to watch Scooby-Doo.
It's great.
Yeah, I
Just-
thought the
I'll just-
casting was fantastic as well.
Yeah, we missed a couple of weed zones. Specifically, we don't go anywhere labeled spooky, scary, haunted, or hydroclonic. And reminds me of the time we tried to eat the guy in the hot dog costume.
My main sort of criticism of the movie is it very much feels like I don't really know who the movie was made for. The intended audience is very all over the place. Dan, you mentioning that originally it was made as a more focused towards adults movie.
I mean,
That kind of tracks actually.
There is some real horniness in this film that they obviously had to edit around in places.
Which is probably why the Fred and Daphne felt really off. They probably cut a ton of it out.
Yeah, most likely.
So how many nightmare human skin suits out of 10?
I was going to say how many souls from the Soul Bowl out of
Oh,
10.
I guess we could go with that one.
If this were Telemundo's Spider-Man, how many people would watch it?
How many Daphne wearing go-go boots on the beach out of 10?
How many sweaty thighs out of 10?
I mean, that's only a maximum of 2. That makes it worse.
How many dead chicken sacrifices out of 10?
Yeah, how many dead chicken sacrifices out of 10? I'm going to say a solid 8. 8
I
or
will
9.
say a solid 8 as well.
Yeah.
I was going to say an 8.
I'm going with 7 with a bit of salt. Like the tribes people scary thing thoroughly puts it in like post 9/11 2002. Other people are scary, but like it's good. Like it's definitely like I don't know if it will be good to a new audience in the same way that it's like nostalgic for us, right?
Yeah, that's a fair point actually. Like I really enjoyed it because I've seen it as a kid. I know a lot of the beats. I mean I had forgotten quite a lot of it. I must have not seen this in a good few years. But yeah, overall I just genuinely really enjoyed watching it.
I had a good time. I laughed out loud several times. I'm definitely going to be watching it again.
Tomorrow.
Yeah, every single day.
Once a day.
And with that, I have been Dan.
I have been Michael.
I've been Poppy.
And I've been Luke.
And you can find us on Twitter at Hilton Pod. That is at HILTM Pod. We're on Spotify and Apple Podcasts as well. If you'd like to leave us a review, you can. And Luke, who is on this episode, actually does the music for the podcast. Luke, do you want to promote your music?
Oh yeah, fine. You can find my music at themenace.bandcamp.com. My name will be in the description. Good luck.
Yeah, we'll include some links in the description for this one.
Good luck. That's ominous.
Look, like people like things more when they're a challenge. Okay, so first of all, my surname is a pain in the ass to spell, and you're welcome.
That is fair. Well, if you enjoyed this, I hope you join us next week as we review Scooby-Doo 2: Monsters Unleashed.
Who's going to be on that one?
I don't know. Getting jinky with it. No.
Getting jiggy with it. They couldn't afford Will Smith for this movie.
No, probably not.